Hey there, and welcome to my Redstone for Dummies tutorials, where I over-explain everything about the machine that we're showing off, or the component that we're talking about that day, and we make sure that you fully understand everything related to what you're doing. And the name of the game today, well, we're back on shulkers. One wide, see, nice, thin, tileable, meaning you can stack them next to each other. Shulker unloaders, that will separate out your shulker boxes from whatever it is that you're removing from them. So let's take a look at them in action. I've got a couple of configurations here, which actually kind of work on very similar principles but different. Now, the first one, for the definition of one wide, because of the way I configured it and what I would personally use it for, the output is actually next to it. So technically this one's too wide. However, if I'm doing this, I'm probably putting everything off into a sorting machine and then going to some place to collect my barrels. So if I've got 4 or 5 of these things running at the same time, I can chain my hoppers for my output barrels together side by side, and I can have one collection barrel for all of my shulker boxes. Um, and this design and this design, same thing, except I had a revelation about this repeater that I didn't need. So that one's one shorter, right? But we can actually go ahead, come in here, boop, 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 put our shulkers in. And this one, it's not very finicky. You can prime it a couple of different ways um, once you have everything ready. What I've kind of started doing, just this button right here, boom, right? And this input can actually be on the back side of the dropper here. So where this guy is, it can be on top of the dropper, on top of this, going into this. It doesn't really matter. This is a power source. You do get more capacity if you feed into the dropper instead of the dispenser, though. All right. But you can see I'm coming out, I'm destroying things, and boom, the orange boxes I just put in, they're getting sorted out here. And I've got this set up just for a test configuration. I've put this through about 500 shulkers and I haven't lost one yet. So highly reliable. But that is this just slightly different. All right. So same thing. I can come in. I've already got it preloaded. Boop. Now you'll see I have to prime it twice if I'm feeding into the dropper because powering this powers the dropper, which pushes one in here. And then it starts to fill up our system and it'll keep going until it's empty. Now you'll notice every time it breaks a shulker, this fills up just a little bit more. And it'll keep doing that until it's up to a total of 9 in here. And bada bing, bada boom, right? Now I wanted one that was genuinely tileable and one wide with the outputs being right next to it. So I came up with this. You'll see it's a little bit different in overall configuration. And since we're being all fancy and using our nice colors here, we can come up and load her up. Boom. And boom. And it'll break. Oh, let's go ahead and remove all our shulkers over there. You'll see all of the stone that I have in here is going there. All of the shulkers are coming over here. All right, so nice and neat. You put a dropper on this, you can feed into a sorting system if you got a real big one or whatever. And then same thing right here, except I realized it may be problematic for people to have a sticky piston, or not a sticky piston, a slime block in the middle. So I went ahead and modified it slightly. Now this one in particular is a little bit finicky. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean here in a moment. As long as you prime it the right way, this one's not a problem. And the way that you would prime it is come over and you're going to want buttons on your dispenser or on your dropper here. And you just go ahead and push them. Or, and this is where the finicky part comes in, you can actually prime it by updating the repeater to a different tick, right? And it'll start going. Now, this one, because I'm using an observer here, I get a 1 tick pulse that moves this observer down here, and it pushes him and releases him, right? And you can see, been testing this one as well. Same result, right? Now, the problem is that if you were to click this once and have your observer go down, and then you were to prime it from up here, the output up here, when this lights up, would all of a sudden cause him to come up while this is dispensed, starting our repeater line that I have set up here. That would then mean every time this was placed, it starts the break cycle, right? And you'd end up with a whole bunch of shulkers with stuff in them still down here. And let's see. Yeah, we'll let him finish running through his paces. All right, so boom. We can come over here, boom. And same thing if we come over here, boom, except now it's full. So once it fills up, mild problem, right? But I didn't put enough in there for it to actually catch up. So how do these work? That is an excellent question, and one we shall explore together. This one and this one, this repeater row right here doesn't actually make a difference. But what happens here, and actually let's just grab ourselves our one shulker. Let's just go ahead and put 9 in there. Make sure you're empty. We'll empty you out. All right. So what happens is when I push my button here the first time, this dropper has something in it. This will power this dropper. Okay, and a dropper can push an item into a dispenser, a chest, or a hopper. All right. So that primes it, and it has one thing ready to go. Now you'll see I have buttons all over the place on this, right? These are all different places you can prime this from. So I can actually push this button, and it'll start the process. I can push this button, that button, that button, that button. It doesn't really matter. But once the shulker box is dispensed right here, this hopper will start pulling our items out. And this comparator will power this block, which powers this piston, which pulls this observer down. And he's powering things in this direction. Now there's a big delay on this repeater here. Once this loses signal, this loses power, this pulls the observer back up, he sees an update, he pushes a power signal behind him, which powers this block. This block with your delay on it right here actually causes this hopper to be powered momentarily long enough that when the shulker box is broken, this hopper is locked, so this is the only hopper that can actually pick up your box. Okay? So now this has power on it, and it sends repeater, or it causes our repeater here to be powered, which causes this one to be powered. This observer sees it. He powers this sticky piston once, right off the bat, which pushes him forward, and this will release. So the observer will be stuck here. And then when this unpowers, he'll see that it updates again. So it'll go forward again, re-grab our observer, and pull him back. Since our observer is seeing what's happening below him, he powers what's above him. And he'll put a power signal into here on the first release. And then when it comes back, it'll put a power signal in here, which powers both of these on both ticks, causing our shulker to be dispensed, right? So let's go ahead and see this in action. So boom, there was our power signal. We've got stuff in our shulkers, so there, it's empty, boom, 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 right? And the hard part to see is that this is getting powered to lock the hopper. All right. So otherwise, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now this particular method of locking the hopper does not work in a truly one wide design like I have right here. because this has to be directly touching our hopper. Um, although, if I was to put a barrel here, I could just collect items out of this hopper here for my shulker boxes, but you don't really have a lot of capacity, right? So not a huge deal. Like I said, the way I'd be using it would be something like this, where instead of into lava to destroy my items, it would be going into my item sorting system, right? So boom, boom, fantastic, magical. Now this one operates very similar but slightly different. Um, so we can come in and load him up while we explain. And we'll go, what was that? Two shy of 2 rows. Okay. And this can be a barrel or a chest. It doesn't matter. In this particular configuration, this has to be a barrel right here. It cannot be a chest. Barrels can be powered, so they can lock the hopper. A regular chest cannot. All right. So same thing up here. We've got our dropper, dispenser with our observer set up. So this is our dispensing system. This part is exactly the same. And then we've got our unloading. So our 2 hoppers like we had before going into, in this case, this has to be a barrel. This could be a chest if you want. But either way, doesn't really matter. Now we have our comparator, which is once again pushing our sticky piston up and down. In this case, I'm using a slime block with it. So that gives me an extension to go one deeper than I did over there, because I'm not using my repeater chain on this row like I was over there to power this block that would have been here and all of that. So once again, when he comes back up on this observer right here, he will send a pulse through this repeater chain with a slight tick delay on it. And once the pulse gets all the way down here, he'll see it. And this observer is watching this guy and powering this. So the timing on this works out well to where this barrel will be powered at the same time that this observer is breaking what's up here, right? So we can come up, and once again, we can actually power it this way if we want to. Boom. And the reason I only had to push it once instead of twice like I did over there, this observer right here going back and forth powers this thing twice. If I powered it off of these two to get it started, then I would have to push the button twice. This button back here will also just need one push. So 2 here or 1 here or here. And we can see the system does the same thing. If this overfills, your extra shulkers will ultimately end up over here, but as long as this is, maintained and emptied, boom, you're done. All right, so same thing. Now, this guy operates on basically the same principle. The difference is, instead of having the slime block there, I'm using an observer where you have a power block over there to look at a repeater, right? And the repeater, when it lights and updates, causes our update event. And I guess I destroyed that one. Magenta. Magenta. All right. So we got our magenta, and in this case, I'm just using stone. Boop. All right. So, boom, boom. Now, this one, like I said, if you prime it from block back here like I had with a button, or if you put your button on these guys, you don't have to worry about this timing getting messed up. Now, there is actually one slight catch here. If this particular one gets unloaded while it's mid-process, it can cause it to release this observer in the wrong place at the wrong time. So if you're going to be in the area for a long time, you don't have to worry about it. But if you end up, yeah, I loaded him up. If you end up leaving due to chunk unloading related things, this one could break. So it's less stable than this one, but you don't have to deal with the sticky piston. And if it does end up breaking, you can actually reset it like this. Boom. Same thing. Now, my preference, this guy over here. A lot less observers. While observers are fantastic, I don't know. I always feel like they're expensive because they use the nether quartz, but, you know, they're actually not that bad. Let's go ahead and mostly empty that out. There we go. But, you know what? I put a lot more items in this one, so this will be fairly slow. Oh, wow. I put a lot of items in that one. Are they all? Yeah, okay. So even on the slow reaction, you'll see it doesn't matter if it's going fast, doesn't matter if it's going slow. 1 item in it, 12 items in it, it's or an entire chest of items, doesn't matter. Boom. So let's get into actually building them, right? So the way I personally go about most of this is I actually usually figure out where I want my shulker to load and unload from. So let's just make a stack of them. Come up a few blocks, doesn't really matter, right? So we know that we have a handful of things that we need. And in this case, let's just go ahead and continue using barrels and our hoppers. All right, so here I know that this particular one has to send its output out this side, which means I've got that and my 2 hoppers, right? So I can unload my chest, which should, oh, you're completely empty. Right, because I copied him. All right, so we've got that. Now I know that I need my signal, right? So I come over here and I'm going to put him down. Now in this particular case, since we are using this block here, right, we can come in and we can hold shift and we can actually come down to where the comparator is and place the block that way. Once we have that, we can come down, put our sticky piston in place, and now this is where our first observer goes. Now the side that you want your signal to go, that's where you want to stand when you place your observer. Boom. Now that we have him, we can come in and place a temporary block right there, and we know we need our repeater right here. All right, that repeater, like I said, powers a block, which will then power 2 more repeaters. Boom, boom. And that will come up to our observer, who is right here. And in this particular case, we have our sticky piston directly on top of the observer, like you can see. And then we have our observer facing up. Now we need our dispenser and we need our dropper. Now our dropper, you can place it at any point, but he'll come over this way. Boom, so he has to face into the dispenser. And then I usually just place a temporary block on top of him, come down, and as long as you've got a good angle, your dispenser will ultimately be, oh, no, sorry. Just come off of the dropper. Hold shift when you place it. There we go. And your dispenser will be facing down, right? So we come back, bada bing, bada boom. We have an entire system. Now, our hopper, depending on your setup and arrangement, can go either here, it can go here, here, or here. All 4 of these places will work, and whichever one you choose, you can put storage for dropping off all of your barrels into this. Or not barrels, your shulker boxes. Boom. Fantastic. Complete. Just like we had it, right? So then we have this one. Basically the same story. Um, and like I said, I always like to personally start from wherever my shulker box is going to go so that I can keep track of what I'm doing, right? But in this case, I mean, well, if we want to place some temporary blocks, we know we need our repeater chain, which is going to be 4 blocks long. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, yeah, by the way, we need our delay. And the longer delay you have, the more time this block stays powered. So if you just set it to your max delay, it should work for you every single time. Now, if we start from the bottom on this one, we know that we need our observer to go here, right? So you have to place a temporary block in order to place him. In this particular arrangement, we also have a slime block, and we're going to have a sticky piston that goes here. So place a temporary pair of slime blocks. Boom, boom, done. All right. That's this guy here, right? And in this one, I'm using my uh, comparator into a block, which is going to take care of things for me. Now, I need my storage, which is going to go here and here. So if you hold shift while you place on top of the repeaters, it'll let you do that. And then we have where our hoppers are going to go. We put our comparator in. So now we have our unload signal system in place. This is ultimately where our shulker is going to go. So we could come up, kind of outline everything here if you want, or, there's a couple ways, but you just need to make sure that your dispenser faces down and your dropper faces into your dispenser. And once again, hopper can go here, 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 here. It absolutely does not matter. Now we need to get our observer, and let's see, our sticky piston. All right, so I'd place personally the sticky piston first and then the observer, because you can place your observer off of your sticky piston. Boom, boom. And now we need our observers. Boom, boom, and boom. Right? So we have our observer that's going to power our barrel, and then we're going to have our observers that are going to see the pulse chain come through in the first place. And we can now boop, 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 clear everything out, grab ourselves our shulker. And I'm trying to remember, I think this one in particular, for some weird reason, didn't particularly need the timings down low, although, boop. No, it does. Okay. And that's actually to get it to hold this signal long enough to get 2 pulses that this observer sees over here. That's right. And then you can see, boom, boom. So 2 ticks on this guy should work for you. If you're on a server with weird laggy issues, you can change your timings down here. Try, a couple of different ones. Make this one a little longer or a little shorter, and you should be good to go. Now this one builds exactly the same way as that guy does, except instead of our slime block, we are using the repeater setup here, right? And getting this guy started off, I would do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, 4. And then I would come in, I would place down my repeater chain. 1, 2, 3, 4 with 2 ticks. And in this case, I would actually go ahead and just set my observer right there, right? Because to start the system off, if I prime it with this, he'll come up when I do my thing. Now let's go ahead, grab a barrel, grab a couple of hoppers. All right, so our barrels are going to go here and here. Once again, holding shift to place that, here and here. We need our comparator, once again, to come here, and sticky piston will go right here. Our observer, place it from down low off of the hopper right there. And we'll see once we place that, it pulls that guy up, right? So, boom. And then we can use that to kind of prime the system. Now we need our observer going here to ultimately power our sticky piston. We need our one going in right here, right? So now sticky piston time, boom. And then we want our observer to power things that are above it, boom. Dispenser, dropper, dropper first, dispenser next, bam, have a functioning system. And once again, boom, 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 boom. Make sure we had our delay. There we go. And we'll just be lazy on this one. Go ahead and put these guys in here. And we can prime our system. Boom. There we go. Fantastic. So now you should understand all of the mechanics that are involved in shulker unloading. Even if you want to do it yourself in some other configuration, you should be able to kind of figure it out. In fact, not my design, but when I was playing with this guy right here. This one does exactly the same thing, except it is 3 wide, 4 tall, right? And, well, same thing. In fact, let's even throw a few in here. This one automatically also senses when your items are in here. All right, but I can come down. Oop. There we go. There we go. So this one auto starts. Getting the auto start on that one was, I wouldn't say it was impossible per se, but it would have been much more difficult because I would have to find a way to get signals off of more things. And, well, as you can see, I don't really have any room for more sensory signals off of stuff unless I did some really hokey things with this observer here. But anyway, I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you learned something and that the power of shulker technology is now fully placed in your hands so that you can go about all of your storage needs. If you need a shulker loader, I did actually upload a tileable one wide design yesterday. You can actually see it behind me above my head with all those redstone blocks. That one I've got on a charcoal cooker because I was trying to see, some capacity testing and, this, that, and the other. I've also got it up above on that giant mob farm for collecting other things. Up there I was testing because it is tileable and compatible with the standard item sorter. Literally just attach it on there. So if you have a need for that, hey, go check out yesterday's video. You should find something kind of interesting there that could help you out as well for loading the shulker boxes and increasing your storage massively. But with that, I put way too much time into both of these because, well, there's a little bit of logic I had to work out for myself, such as you can power a barrel. I discovered that on accident, to be honest with you. So I'm going to call it a day here. Thank you for stopping by. I really do appreciate it, and I hope I see you again in another one of my videos. Bye now.